given the names that appear there and not the pictures, we've had at least one session, I think, haven't we, where when I first joined and I sort of said hello, this is me, and gave you a bit of background. So we've been having meetings with the incoming staff and new staff, like Helen joining us, and the staff that are coming across from East Kent. We've had about 4 meetings now, and this meeting was also very much planned in, so that we look at housing as a complete team, not just the landlord side, the housing management side, but this side of the team as well. So the meeting really is a catch up in a different world. We'd be sitting down with with a cup of coffee, and I'd bring the biscuits along, and we'd talk about stuff, really, what's going on, big changes happening, making sure that we're doing all the things we need to be doing, and and bringing your expertise into that as well. One of my biggest worries is that we're planning the transition, down to the minute detail, but there are going to be things we've forgotten. So it's how we join you into that, so you feel very much part of it, as part of the housing service going forward. So that's key to this as well. So really the questions are going to come from you. I mean, I want you to ask me, to ask us questions. If you've heard, I don't know, rumors or anything like that. So are there any sort of burning questions you actually want to raise with me? If not, I can update you where we are on the incoming structure. I'm going to pause and look at the faces, and Susan, you moved then towards the camera as if you're going to ask a question. No, okay, but please do it in a bit. So we've now recruited to all of the position. One position is still outstanding. It's the asset data analyst role. That's out for advert. I think it closes this week, but we're shortlisting next week. But we've been hugely successful in recruiting to all the posts that we've actually advertised. I'm holding about 6 posts back, just to see how the structure settles down. But we've got staff transitioning in, some great staff transitioning in from East Kent. I think a number of those staff that are coming across, and we've got great people like Helen that's coming in as well from housing associations, from other councils, and 1 or 2 from the private sector. In a minute, I'll ask Andrina to maybe even give us some numbers on that. Most people are starting between now. Helen is the first person. People come in dribs and drabs, but the bulk of our new colleagues are coming in on the 21st of September. That's kind of a week before we go live. And the reason for that is that, clearly we're starting to pay wages. We're paying East Kent, and if we've got new staff coming in, we're also paying their wages. So there's some budget issues I had to balance off as well. The new structure embraces the approach that we've got within the council. It uses case management, it uses specialists. So you'll see parts of the support to Helen's team, for example, sit in Becky's team in terms of case management. I've got specialists who are collecting the rent, and I've got case officers that are also collecting the rent off in different parts of the department. So that's all new, the organisation. So that's all new to me, how that's working. And I know it's new to some of their colleagues who've not dealt with housing before. You've not had a housing service in place for the last 10 years. So that corporate memory of housing is not great. I know some colleagues here in the room now have got memories of how the landlord service works, but others won't have. So having the landlord service come in is going to be quite a sort of strange beast. And I've said to the incoming colleagues, you'll use language which other colleagues won't recognise. I think that's probably where we are. Any questions? Oh, no, sorry, Andrea, do you know the numbers that we've actually got coming in? Is that a fair question?
Yeah, a few minutes warning to do some maths would have been good.
Yeah.
So we've got there's 73 posts on the new structure. There's about 40 odd coming across on TUPE or COSOP, which is a version of TUPE from East Kent Housing. We've offered about 14 jobs externally, and like John says, that's a mix of people coming from other councils or housing associations and so on. We've got 7 members of staff moving internally into the structure, and there's a few roles that we've just got on hold at the minute, just to see how things pan out on the 1st of October in terms of volumes of metrics and that sort of thing. And the one job that's still outstanding at the minute is the asset data specialist that closes on Friday. It's gone probably better than any of us could have expected, to be honest, in terms of filling all of those roles.
Thank you. I think what resonates with me in all of the interviews and all the people we've appointed is that people have come for 2 or 3 reasons. Folkestone is a great authority to work for. It's got a good reputation. So, I've benefited from that, from the way we work, a flexible approach to working and the reputation it has. Folkestone is a great place to be in terms of location as well. And finally, the excitement of starting up a new housing service. So those 3 things have been a real attraction to incoming staff. So if you think we've been in competition with the rest of the housing world, but also with the other councils around us, all going out for relatively similar staff at the same time. So we've been particularly lucky in that. Although you've made this luck by the investment that folks have put in previous years to get the good reputation. I know, for example, a colleague in Thanet is having difficulty to recruit to one of the lead asset roles, for example. But we've got Roy Catlin. He joins on the 21st September. Is a really great guy. If he chose to, he could have gone to any of the authorities, but he's coming to us, which is good. So I've spoken for quite a bit there. Must be some questions you need to ask about the incoming service. What do you think that if you were in my shoes, what would you be saying to me to think about? What have I missed? Well, I know I haven't got it all, but I don't know what I've missed.
Get it all.
Go on. Please go. Is that a question?
I mean, John, is it gonna work exactly the same way as East Kent Housing has worked previously? It's just that we're taking it over because obviously Sarah Field and I deal with East Kent Housing on a day-to-day basis. Okay, so how is that going to change for us?
Right, thank you so much for that. So we should make available to you the, if you've not already seen it, the structure. Have you got the structure?
Yes, I've got it. I can show it now if you'd like to.
But I wonder if, absolutely, but I wonder if colleagues have got structure. Have you seen the new structure, anybody? No, okay, right. Well, we'll make you have that, but we can put it up. It's not a secret. So, no, we're not working the same as East Kent. And the reason for that is East Kent is 17,000 properties. They can have specialists in a number of areas. We're not, we're much smaller, and we've gone for a neighbourhood approach. It's something you would have done previously, I'm sure. It's something which has gone down particularly well with the tenants. So if we start on the left-hand side with Firas in terms of the development team, and I'll touch on the case and specialist sides in a minute, which is either side, the blue and the green. So we've got a development team, which has come with internal transfers by and large to reinforce our ambition to build new houses. They start around the September time as well, although they're currently working on lots of the housing sites already. So a dedicated new build development team. We've then got Suzanne Crowhurst, who is going to lead a team that deals with compliance. And you'll be aware that East Kent got themselves in a bit of a muddle by not keeping on top of the compliance. So we've created a specialist compliance team to make sure we're on top of that. And you'll recognise maybe Paul Marsh down in that bottom box a bit further down. He's one of the great employees we've actually got working for us at the moment, and he's going to specialise in fire. And then across to the right one more, we've got Barbara Wilkins, who's looking after repairs. So that person's going to be looking after Mears particularly. We've got Mears as a contract for at least another 2 years. And this is where we start to get into the patch management. So we've broken Adrian actually and the team, really grateful for the work they've done. They've looked at the area and they've broken it down into east and west, and then with each of those patches into three areas. And we're going to have a housing officer and a maintenance surveyor, either in one or two of those areas. So the maintenance surveyors will probably be over 2 areas, where the housing officers, in a minute I'll show you, will be over. They'll have their own patches of between, I think it's about 500 and 700 properties each, and they'll deal with everything from antisocial behaviour. They'll be helping their colleagues in rent collection to rent. They'll be keeping on top of the tenancies. They'll be doing all of the tenancy management, and that's pretty intense. And there's a strong team in there. So what I'm trying to do is to bring that personal approach to how we manage properties going forward. So repairs. The next bit is asset management.
Sorry to interrupt your flow there. Could you just expand a little bit on compliance? Because I'm not sure if people have dealt with that before. So if you could just give us just a quick overview of what that means, please.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for that. I mean, it will apply to lots of the work. You know, if you're letting HMOs and things like that, and the involvement there, there's a requirement for us to be involved in that, and this team will start to help with that. So compliance, we talk about the big 5 or 6, but it's health and safety overall. So that's one of them. But it's gas, making sure your gas is inspected every 12 months. It's your electric, which is every 5 years. It's your asbestos, making sure you've got your asbestos plan in place and is inspected in the communal areas. It depends on risk actually, but we tend to talk about doing it every 12 months. Then we've got Legionella, and having a Legionella program based on risk as well. Was that 6? I've asked this question so many times in interviews. Gas, fire, the big one, all from Grenfell. Doing our fire risk assessments, where we've got a program of about 150 properties that we're looking at every 12 months, and then all the work that falls out of that. Does that help?
I think we've got gas, electric, asbestos, Legionella, fire. That's 5.
5, and number 6 is health and safety overall.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks, John.
Thanks for putting it back. Major works. So we've got major works. This is all your planned maintenance. Replacement doors, windows, roofs, and everything else comes under Anthony Warner, who is currently doing that in East Kent. He's going to coming across to us. So we're really fortunate. We've got somebody that knows what they're doing at the moment, and they're going to pick that up. One of our risks we've got work coming across, but we haven't got anybody to do it at the moment because they're not in place. And when they are in place, they won't know what East Kent have been doing. So we've got this kind of transition we're working on, so we can shadow the current job holders, so we can pick up the jobs, and we know what work is going on and where we are with the contractors. And then right at the bottom there, we've got the asset data specialist, which Andrea said we're still recruiting too. So one of the big things for us is understanding the stock, so we can then develop our planned maintenance programs, and then that feeds the budget and the business plan. At the moment, we've not spent, East Kent haven't spent the capital program by and large because they haven't got the data to say whether a roof needs replacing or windows need replacing. It might seem quite obvious, but we don't have that. So we're commissioning a stock survey. Again, you may have done similar on the private sector as well. It's fairly commonplace. And then we've got the neighbourhood management side of life. We've got Tom coming in, looking after. These are all the patch management sides, actually. So the neighbourhood management, I said, is split into two, and then we've got the individuals. So Tom's coming in. I don't know where. Adrian, can you know where Tom's coming from? Is he a housing association or private sector?
He is with a housing association at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. But Helen knows Tom as well, because housing is a small world. So we've got the neighbourhood management approach to how we're going to be managing the housing stock. Lots of colleagues who are part-time in that, and that's good in terms of we've got resilience, looking after the patches, and I see all their colleagues there, you know, somehow meeting tenants, doing tenancy audits through over the next 12 months. Tenant liaison, critical. Our vision is about having tenants at the centre of what we're doing. We're going to be a digital organisation, but with tenants at the centre of what we're doing. So Lauren joins us on the 7th of September. And then caretakers, we've got 1.5 caretakers and some vacancies there, and we're kind of working out their future roles. Leasehold management, going right back up to the top again. Richard Parker, leasehold specialist. So, you know, going to the top of their section 20 is making sure we're recovering all the funds we need to from the leaseholders, but also giving them a good service. And then we've got supported housing, all of our sheltered schemes, and how we're going to look after them and indeed improve them. And, you know, potentially we're going to have to do an options appraisal on some of the schemes that are there, because they need a fair bit of TLC. And then we've got Nikita, and that's a key role, because East Kent have got themselves into a bit of a muddle. I wanted a role that kind of creates an independent audit across everything that we're doing in the landlord side, but also on your side as well. So if we've got policies, are they up to date? Are they being complied with? It's a bit of a health check, a helpful health check to make sure that we're doing all the things that we need to be doing. So that was a key post, and that reports directly into me. And then we've got your service, which all comes under Adrian. So both of those services, or the housing side, comes under Helen, who's with you in the room, and Roy looks after everything from new build through to major works and day-to-day repairs. Just very briefly then, on the blue side, we've got colleagues who have joined us from East Kent on Business Insight. So I'm expecting to really ramp up the information and the KPIs and the data that we've got across the whole of the housing service. And I'm already talking to the management team around that. How do we get useful information without creating lots of work, and how do we share it so we start to build the intelligence of the business? And that all comes under Adrian, as you know, is an existing member of staff. So these guys coming across join other people that have got similar skills. We've then got under Lee, again, an existing colleague. We've got people that will be collecting the rent, income recovery. We've got Susan right at the bottom there, who's helping with benefits. It's clearly the option for us, and this is where housing hits the road, isn't it? Because if on this side of the business someone doesn't pay the rent and they're evicted, they're going to turn up on your side of the house, presenting themselves as homeless. So this is where it all comes together, and it's in our interest to make sure we're managing the whole housing service as one. So Susan's around there giving the advice to help to sustain tenancies. I've got a specialist in Sharon Davey, another great recruitment. She's the income specialist, comes from one of the London boroughs, so lots of experience in some fairly gnarly rent recovery issues there. And then we've got our systems people coming in, Lorraine, who I'm sure you know already, some of you will anyway. So that's another key post, making sure our systems are working. And then finally, and then we're going to move across that way to the green stuff. I can't see that. It's because I've got my, there we go. Yeah, sorry, I've got my pictures in the wrong place. So under Becky's team, we've got a number of case officers that are coming across to help us manage the service. So the easiest one that I can explain. So if you look right at the bottom, we've got Kelly McAllister. She currently works for East Kent. She's coming across as a technical support. I think that's the role may have changed, but she is working directly with Anthony Warner, which is one of the pink jobs, the asset management. So in terms of looking at the assets, these guys, Anthony will be responsible for those, but Kelly will be crunching the numbers and inputting the data. And that currently happens. That is the current setup in East Kent. The only difference is Kelly works directly for Anthony. Why change? The problem there is if Kelly's off, Anthony's waiting for information, but Anthony, as a skilled assets and major works manager, spends time one-to-ones, doing leave, doing sickness reports and stuff like that, which he won't have to do going forward, because as this person sits in case, Becky or whoever Kelly reports into, will be picking all that day-to-day admin up, which leaves Anthony with a lot more space to do what he's best doing in terms of asset management and things like that, but can call on Kelly for the information. And if Kelly's not there, he can say to Becky, case manager, I still need this information. Can somebody else be providing that for me? So that depth of resilience has become more and more apparent to me as I've joined, and I think that will really work going forward. And it's similar other roles throughout. So we've got a complaints officer, for example, which would be a great boost to us. I'm expecting the complaints officer to be looking after all of housing's complaints and learning lessons from that, not just looking after the landlord service. I think, Jason, that's probably enough for me, more than enough. How does that sound to anybody?
Yeah, so now that's been explained. Thanks so very much for going through that, John. Is that now clearer for people, or is there something that people would still like a little bit more clarity on? The thing that I thought of, John, being very new to housing, would be what would be the common themes or the common issues where the housing services people who are with us today would interact with the landlord side of things?
A lot of it's going to be around Adrian will probably help me here as well, but it's going to be about the letting side. It's going to be about the voids. Don't you, Adrian? I think this part of the business does the.
Yeah, I think the key area is going to be Laura and the team, Sarah Field. So it's the communications in terms of the letting of properties, where the housing options team will provide the nominations for properties, and then they'll work closely with the team, well, at the moment, East Kent Housing, then the new housing management team, to move those people over and get them into our homes and get them let as quickly as possible. That's obviously going to be a key arrangement going forward, and a key issue for us, isn't it? To make sure that we're not having long periods of where properties sit empty, getting them occupied.
Yeah.
And another question, this could be quite a big one, and because I know I'm slowly starting to learn about housing, and you never know, I might be with you one day. Would there be any training expected from everybody who is with us today, coming up to speed with what everybody else does, or is that just going to happen organically as the teams start to interact more with each other?
Good. I suppose a question that we could ask colleagues how we think that training should take place. We've got a big training plan for everybody coming in to learn how how we work in Folkestone, and I've also asked to make sure that when staff come across, if they're doing a particular job in the compliance role, for example, that they've got the necessary qualifications or are working towards those qualifications. I don't know. I can't think. Well, no. What do you think? What do you guys think in terms of the training or the sharing of information? How can we start to develop ourselves as one team? I know there are different roles altogether, and there's very much, by and large, because of the budget system, there's kind of a hard line between the housing revenue account, the landlord side, and this side. But how would you see it developing?
I'm hi. Hello.
Hi, Joe. Hi.
Hi.
And there's so many people.
Yeah. I'm not currently employed directly by the council. I'm working via an agency, but if I came in, I would like to see some sort of structured induction program to begin with for people, but also for the particular. Well, obviously to see how the whole council operates. I mean, I started during lockdown, so I've barely met anybody. How would that work if people are, I don't know when the council's going to be, the building's going to be open again. So as people are starting now, how is that going to work? And also, obviously, the training, that needs to be done within that role. I think it's a good idea that you've got the buddies system going. That's really helpful, or you will be having that. So that's my input as a sort of outside insider.
Excellent, thanks, Joe. Just to let you know about the induction side of things, so I'm in organizational development. So we have been in the process of, I think it was been since May or whatever, we've been interacting with everybody at East Kent Housing, and we've been holding sessions to slowly sort of induct them into Folkestone and High District Council about how we do things. They've received emails about how we operate as well. And then on the 1st of October, when they officially join us, we'll have a proper induction day for them as well. People who have offered up to be buddies is also going to be really helpful because it gives them a contact within the council where they can ask what they feel might be silly questions, and you can help them out with that. You've mentioned that you've started during lockdown. Have you been invited to our New Starters Forum? Right.
No, but I don't know if that's because I'm not a direct employee.
Okay, well, I can invite you to that, and then you can come along to we're now calling it a New Starters Forum because we've had quite a number of people who started before lockdown and during lockdown. We'd like to induct them into FHDC. So I will invite you to that, and then you can come along and just find out a little bit more about us, our values and everything as well. But the induction side of things, yeah, it's definitely all happening in the background, and they're slowly starting to find out who we are and how we do things. Cool. Thanks for asking that. Thank you, John.
I do have a question.
Who's that?
Olu.
Hi, Olu.
Hi, should I just carry on?
Go.
Okay. Having a look at the organizational structure, there's been a lot about, things people are doing, but there's not been much emphasis on the customer service aspect of things. Because I'm guessing East Kent Housing on its own had its own customer service that was handling all of that. So is everything now going back to our in-house customer service? And if that is, because that's a lot of, multiple departments that people still need, customers still needs to be signposted to. Most importantly, I think the most important will probably be repairs. So is there going to be a customer service is it the existing customer service department that's going to work with this new structure? And if that is the case, they're already dealing with all council departments already. Is there going to be more people going into customer service on that aspect of things? Because at the end of the day, customers will still need to call in and they still need to get signposted. Does that make any sense?
Do you want me to jump in on that one?
Yeah.
Okay. So where John started referring to that green side of the structure, There's an awful lot of names there that we didn't cover, and most of them are coming across from East Kent Housing as customer contact and transaction officers. And some of them work on the phones, some of them work on more kind of case management work, some do a mixture of both. And what Becky's in the middle of doing now is exploring exactly what do they do currently, because our expectation is that they can work to the whole of their job description as they come across. So some of those officers may well end up sitting directly with Karen rather than with Becky, or it could be a bit of a hybrid, which will be quite new for us in terms of them doing the customer services and the case management at the same time. So there still will be ways for people to contact in through customer services. We just need to do some more work as we get more details and get closer to go live on what these people actually are doing and how it breaks down and where the calls will be handled. But it's certainly not been missed off the structure. It sits in that green box under Becky at the minute.
Okay.
Right. And the other thing, of course, is that repairs, MERS handle that anyway. So tenants report their repairs to MERS. So they've got their own call handling system as well.
Another question, sorry. Another thing is, as a housing options officer, we do have a dire need for, I'm sure everyone would know this, that work in housing, 1-bedroom units for single people. Is there anything that you guys are doing with regards to, getting more of those? Because of course, everything is not coming in-house, so it's all going to be up to us to, increase our units on that.
I'm going to ask Adrian to come in on that. I mean,
that's fine, John. Yeah, no, I'm happy to answer that. There's a variety of means that we can deliver more homes, Ollie. Firstly, we've got our own new build program, and we certainly have delivered 1-bedroom units through that already, and we will deliver more of those going forward. We're going to want at least 20% of all the new homes that we deliver ourselves through our own program to be 1-bedroom. And we've so far delivered around about 100 homes. We've got a commitment to build another 200 homes over the next 5 years. And then the council's committed to deliver another 1,000 homes beyond that as well, up until 2035. So of all of those homes, at least 20% are going to need to be for 1-bedroom units for single people, at least. And we need to keep that under review. If we have more people joining our list, that means we need more single units, person units, then we'll do that. And then there's the other work that we're doing with housing associations as well. So where housing associations are building in the district, again, we're going to look for at least 20% of those units to be 1-bedroom units. So there's a variety of means that we can achieve that. Except it's probably not happening as quickly as we might like, but it is certainly a priority for us to deliver as many as we can. Okay.
Thanks, Adrian. Is there any where that is published that we will know about that, or is that going to come in the corporate plan?
Well, it's certainly within our corporate plan, the commitment to build the new homes ourselves directly. There's also the work that we do with housing associations. So and also where private developers building in the district, our planning policies require developers to provide a proportion of those homes for affordable housing. So it is set out in a number of different documents, but it's certainly within our housing strategy as well, which is on our website.
Okay. Thanks very much, Adrian. Thank you. Thanks. Good question.
Just a quick, yeah. I was thinking the next step bids. Did that kind of helps with this a bit? Or
yeah, no, it would. That's a good point, John. The other angle, although at the moment, is that we are. Last week we submitted a bid working with Dover Council to get more specific specialist units for some of the more difficult rough sleeping cases that we see in the district at the moment. You guys within Housing Options is particularly difficult when we have some of those entrenched cases that approach us. Where can we put them? Where we are placing them in accommodation, that's breaking down. So it's getting some additional 1-bedroom units in the district so that we can house those individuals and provide wraparound support once they're housed to try and keep them in that accommodation. And then obviously work to find long-term housing solutions, but to give us a bit more time to do that and support as well. So the plan that we put in was for 12 units in the district of intensive accommodation for those individuals. So time frame wise, we should be hearing about the outcome of that process during September. So that should be those units will be delivered fairly quickly. I would say within the next 6 months, if not sooner. So I think that's going to be a really important part of the work that we do, and will certainly help to make our jobs a little bit easier going forward.
Would that be time limited? The
the funds, it's a 5-year programme from the government. But those resources, once delivered, will be owned by the council. But the funding for the support is certainly for 5 years. But obviously the government's got a commitment to end rough sleeping in the district. So I can't see that funding just ending. And we'd certainly have the 1-bedroom units available to us in perpetuity going forward. So does that help to answer that question?
Jason?
Yes.
I didn't invite Tim. I didn't introduce Tim, rather. Does everybody know Tim? Helen probably doesn't. And I just...
Well, Helen does, because we had a good chat the other day, but...
Does everybody know Tim? Tim, do you want to introduce...
Shall I just say who I am? So my title is the Director of Transition and Transformation. So in terms of housing, my role has been very much been involved since probably last summer, which has been to try and work with housing through all the issues, the compliance issues that arose. And then gradually, as the story unfurled, and it became clear that the council was going to take back control of the housing stock, then my role has been very much to facilitate working across East Kent and working internally with John and other colleagues to try and bring the housing department back in-house in as smooth as possible a transition. So my role is very much about helping this this whole process. Moving forward, then the responsible director is Andy B, and obviously John, who'll be dealing with the operation of the service. But my role is very much about helping the housing service come back in-house. I'll be tying up a whole load of loose ends with East Kent Housing at the end of the process as well. So that's my role in this. And just a part-time bit, I deal with transformation as well, which is that's the fun bit, or not.
Thanks, Tim. And we've just got a hand raised by Deb, John. So I think what we'll do is we'll get to Deb with you in a moment, and then after that we'll need to start wrapping up, folks. Thanks very much. Deb, just remember to unmute yourself when you want to ask a question.
Hiya. Currently we contact numerous people in East Kent Housing via email. So when will we have all the new email addresses and contacts?
Right, so but absolutely we will have them. We're working on them. I think what we'll have them on the, I imagine, I don't know the answer, but we'll have them, a few days before. Bearing in mind, East Kent will be running the service up until midnight on the 30th September, and we take over 1 minute into the 1st of October. So I'm getting my head around how we set up the emergency service and things like that. But the contacts, one of the good things is we've got a project plan, we've got a project manager that's also helping us. So that kind of detail I know is happening, but I don't know when that kind of information will be available. It's a good question. We can certainly let colleagues know when this kind of information will come across, along with the structure, if you've not seen that, so you can see all the names and everything else, and also the contact details. I would encourage you to make contact with your colleagues that you recognise or you might be working with, to make them welcome, but also to start to build those relationships as well. So that's 2 bits of work we'll certainly take away from this session.
I mean, currently most of our emails go to support services, and then they dish them out to East Kent Housing from there. So we need to sort of know who and who to speak to really, and how to contact them. That'd be really good.
That's a good, yeah. So that strikes me that would kind of fit into the case management, to Becky's side of the business. So we'd need to ask Becky what the plan is. She certainly has one.
Okay.
Whether it goes into a central email address.
I think that's what I'm about to say, is that rather than named people, I think there might be central, I don't know, Helen might have something to say about it, but there'll be a neighbourhood officer address or something, rather than going to individual people.
Yeah, yeah. So that's all part of the excitement and worry, I suppose, of setting up a new service. So it's absolutely those kind of things, Deb, that is worthwhile asking, just in case someone's forgotten them. I don't think they have. So thanks for that, but we'll double check it.
Thank you.
My froze.
Okay, so, oh, was that someone going to ask something? Okay, great. So yeah, just before we wrap up, the OD department, yes, will be in touch soon about your buddy role if you've opted to be a buddy. If you haven't, please put your name forward. It would be absolutely fantastic. Be nice for people to meet as many people in the organisation as possible before they come over. We do have an induction program set up for them, and on the 1st of October, we'll be running them through our induction as well. But if you have any questions, please get in touch with me, and I'll be able to help you. Otherwise, I'll hand over to John to close us out, please.
Oh, thank you. It's great seeing you all again. It's a really, really exciting time. Joe, like you, I was employed during lockdown. I had my interview on this means. Tim wore a tie at the time of the interview, along with Andy, and I was down on Tuesday in Folkestone, but I've not been down that much, and the office was as it should be, completely empty. So things like how we're going to work, all that kind of stuff, still need to work out. It's a really exciting time. It's going to be hard work. We're going to have lots of new colleagues who won't know the ropes. We are one council, and we're one housing organisation within that, and working alongside the landlord function. We're going to create a cracking housing service. We're going to give far better service to our tenants and prospective tenants as well. And it's how we work through that. I've been fortunate. I haven't been given a blank sheet of paper, but it's as near as it gets to having a blank sheet of paper. And that's, as I said, when I'd met you all previously, was the real attraction for coming down and working in Folkestone about creating that new housing service. So let's keep the questions coming in. We'll send the information through that we've got. We'll start sharing the information that all of the housing service can get, even though it might not impact on you directly. I think it'd be really good for you to understand what information is going out. And not a great deal has gone out so far. So you've not missed out on much, but I think from this conversation, I'll make sure you're as briefed as everybody else. And I'm currently working with Helen on a short document about how the system works. So we've got the structure, we've got the vision. Now it's down to the detail on what each parts of those organisations will do. And that should be ready next week. So we'll start sharing that with you as well. So until then, keep on pushing forward and helping and keeping on. One of the great things is that your part of the business under Adrian's leadership has been ticking on, and it's allowed me to focus on the landlord's part of the service and the transition and everything else, which has been really, really helpful. So all the great work you're doing there, it's really appreciated. I could have so easily get sucked into homeless considerations and COVID data and things like that. So by keeping those things at bay from me, I'm really grateful, but it's enabled me to focus on delivering the landlord service into the council. So thanks very much. And it's great to see you all again.
Thanks very much, John, and thank you everybody else for joining us. Thanks, Helen, Andrina, Adrian, and Tim for joining us as well. Everybody take care, and we'll be in touch soon. I'll share the recording with you. Goodbye.
Andrina, it's Laura here. Can I have you for 1 minute before you sign off, please?